Thank you very much. Right, good morning. Thank you for attending the Venues, Events and Marketing Committee. Have we got any declarations of pecuniary interests?
No, thank you.
No, right, thank you. Apologies for absence, Chris.
I haven't received any.
None, right, lovely, thank you. To confirm the minutes of the committee meeting held on the 11th of March 2020, received by full council on the 12th of May as a true record. Is there any comments on that?
Oh, good.
I have been cleared by full council.
No, that's right.
No, is that fine? Can I sign the minute? Thank
Yes,
you.
thank
Cheers.
Then, yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. 89619, health and safety matters. One, VEM virus, I can never say that word, updates. And two, is to receive a quote on the extension of the CCTV coverage to include the Market Square. And David, can we have that, please?
Yeah, okay. So just to take point one, which is just the updates, just to bring you quickly up to speed, just to cover the timeline, the venues closed on the 20th of March of this year, followed after the Prime Minister's address on the Sunday evening on the 22nd. We took the decision to close the markets as from March the 24th, so Tuesday, March the 24th. We've also around the venues had to deep clean and decommission all the bar and catering services to industry guidelines. We contacted the result of closure of the venues, all our hirers, and allocated refunds where they were requested. But many of them did reschedule their event dates to future dates, mainly post-September, which hopefully is being realistic more than optimistic. And some even into next year. The tenants of the Guildhall Gallery are currently working from home. We've done a few refurbs and repairs in the Guildhall tea room and council chamber, but now because there's nobody using that facility, we've completely cleaned down and mothballed it for the time being. Currently, our venues are being used by limited staff members, so we can comply with more stringent working practices. Currently, we're reviewing that over the next couple of weeks, redesigning office space to allow them a safer and more welcoming return to the office. Each office has now been allocated a sanitizer station, and we are looking at foot pedal sanitizers to go into the public areas, hopefully when we reopen in the near future. And we are accommodating blood donor sessions roughly every fortnight. The next one is June the 2nd. We are undertaking stringent cleaning protocols as and when needed. So it has been handy in some respects that we can clean the venue and keep it fairly well cleaned with only a skeleton staff in the building to answer phones, messages, and deal with contractors. So just a quick update. I don't know whether anybody's got any questions on that.
Yeah, Mark has got his hand up.
Hi, can you all hear me okay?
Yes, thank you, Mark. Hope you're well.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Chairman. David, you mentioned about the tenants of the Guildhall Gallery currently working from home. Do we have oversight of their plans to return to their offices?
Not at this moment in time. We have asked them when they do pop in, and they have done on a couple of occasions to give notice, so we can make sure that we realise they've been in the building, and so we can carry out the necessary cleaning post. But literally, of the 4 staff that are thereof, there's only one that's ever been in to collect paperwork and things. So
Yeah.
they are literally working from home at the moment, but there's no reference to when they are returning, to be honest.
But also, I would wonder if we, as the landlord, we would have oversight of how they're going to manage risk, because it will impact upon us as well as an organisation.
Yes, well, we'll contact them to see when they have got any plans, if any, in the foreseeable future to come back. And just like we've instigated with the market traders in a future agenda item, we will go through that process as well. There are common areas that we do share, so that's a valid point. There is an issue, hopefully, coming up in the foreseeable future in terms of where the Guildhall will undertake its improvements and upgrades. Look at that in a different light anyway. So yeah, but I'll take your point, Mark.
Thanks, David.
Can I just say, David, Brenda's having problems with the agenda's sort of stuck. It's not moving. Can we sort that out?
Lag on it.
Yeah, please.
I'm still on the minute.
All right.
Well, why have you got them? I've got the updates on mine.
No, I've got the first one. I've got the first one that went up.
Mm.
Decorations, apologies, and minutes. It's not been scrolled down to the next part. What you're
Health
discussing.
and safety matters.
Is anybody else having any problems?
David,
Yeah.
there's a slight lag on it, but other than that, it's coming through for me.
Okay.
Have we got any more comments on what David has said?
No.
Are you
No,
all happy? Sorry, Brenda. Yeah.
I think that it's they're doing a good job down there. You know.
Yeah.
Mm.
Keep it up.
I mean, we've had to pop in, obviously, but you know, everything was well organised. They're keeping their distance from us and themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the little windows going up, so that's quite nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it does look good. Yeah.
Well, going forward, in view of trying to get some staff back into the workplace over the next couple of weeks, we are obviously looking at welfare screens, dividing desks, actually redesigning office space to make sure social distancing is adequately taken care of. And also, as Brenda has just alluded to, we have a new welfare screen in the main reception hatch to protect staff in the reception area. Now, some of these things are not just as a result of coronavirus, they are things that we'll obviously keep. So we have invested in more substantial hardware in products for dividers, rather than you can pick up some on the market at the moment that basically are a flimsy perspex screen in a cardboard surround. But we're looking to continue with this going forward when some of the restrictions are lifted. We think it makes good sense.
Yeah.
It does.
Right. Anything else on that one? No. Right. Thank you. Shall we move on, David? To number 2, received the quote for the extension of the CCTV coverage, or is that on?
No, that's fine. This is the second point of the health and safety. So we've brought it into this agenda item simply because in the past we have installed our CCTV coverage over 3 separate phased installations. The next one that we feel is needed is the one that covers the whole of the marketplace. Currently, it covers the Guildhall porch and a very small section of the marketplace. But again, in terms of an agenda item coming up later in this meeting, it will extend the health and safety that's enabled for our staff to work for markets, events, and other such like. And also, we do from time to time get inquiries, unfortunately, from members of the public that have parked on the market square that have obviously had a bump and a knock, because as we all can see from time to time, people don't park within the bays correctly. So again, this will aid that scenario, and we can also track and monitor how the car park is used. So that may be useful going forward as well. So I have actually said that we receive a quote. The quote has come in at £865.40 plus VAT. It is within the threshold that delegated officers have the power to continue with. And as we've discussed an extension to the CCTV coverage anyway, I'd look to hopefully go ahead with this, especially to facilitate any reopening of the market as well. I don't know what the council's thoughts are on that.
Oh, actually, yeah.
Have councillors got anything on that one?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. We need to extend it as far as we can, and at that cost, good.
I've got Terry's
Terry's got his hands up, Chair.
Dennis, Terry's got his hands up. Yeah.
Lovely, thank you, Chair. Perfectly happy with that. I mean, we've spoken about it a few times, and I quite like the approach we've taken of doing it in phases. The only thing I'd point out is David didn't mention what budget this was coming from, and I just think it's always useful for us to be aware where it's actually coming from, and we record that as such in the minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've got a comment from Chris. Chris, do you want to speak, mate? Chris Harvey. No, Chris is oh, no.
Mark Robinson's got his hand up.
Right, Chris has said he agrees to support the CCTV. Mark Robinson has his hand up. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you. Quite comfortable decision to increase the coverage on the marketplace, but David referred to the fact that we sometimes have issues with the marketplace itself and the car parking. I'm not sure if this sits with this committee or it needs to go to out, but I was lockdown's given me the opportunity to go through old emails, and I tracked back an email to 2016 where a councillor requested that we look at this, the marketplace, because as a car park it's not managed very well, if at all, and I would like to see that come forward as a future item, so we can actually the marketplace can be the car park can be monitored and used correctly.
Thank you.
Can I just come back on that, Chair? Yeah, firstly, to answer Terry's question, we can take that cost out of nominal code 5286, which covers some of the work on the marketplace, repairs and maintenance. So we can take it out of that. Otherwise, there's building maintenance, which is 5220. So we can take it out of one of those codes. Yes, I also take Mark's point about it may be the responsibility of other committees to track the use of car parking. But my point was that we now have CCTV coverage for health and safety reasons, but we can also record, and we take recordings from time to time, which can be used in evaluating whether we can address that in a different way.
Yeah, agree. Any comeback on that?
Any comeback on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I believe it sits with Al, and we've got the chair of Al in the room today, so perhaps you can note my point about wanting to discuss it. That'd be appreciated. Thank you.
Can I just say that actually I've just put in the comments as well, there will be some changes to the car park due to the layout of the entrance within the HLF bid. So I think it's already down as discussed on ALP.
Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. Any more?
Chair, would somebody like to propose and second that, and I'll put it down as a recommendation, please?
Chris, you can't do that because it's not an agenda item, and the spend is already within the delegated power. Thank you.
Sorry, I thought it was. Sorry.
No, it's part of an officer's update because it's within the delegated.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Right, if we're all happy with that, we'll move on. 89719 Guildhall Internal Works tender. I think we've all seen that, haven't we?
You should have been served with a copy of the tender. So basically, on the 15th of January, we agreed to go out to tender. and it was tendered, but we did only have one company that returned the bid. So really, this is about approving that tender, so we can initiate the works.
Any comments, please?
There was also the architect report that went out to support their comments on the tender.
Yeah. Got any, Terry?
Yeah, sorry, maybe it's me. I can't remember exactly what this is about, so it'd be really useful if, David, you could give us an overview. I've just had a quick look in my emails to see if there's a copy of the actual tender that went out. I can't find it, but if you could just tell us what it is, that'd be really useful.
Yeah, I know Ros is on the line, so she has done a lot of work with the overall bit of both interior and exterior works. So she may well be able to fill us in. But basically, the works are about reconfiguring the toilets within the Guildhall ground floor. Also installing a new disabled toilet, a small servery to service the Guildhall tea room, an extended ramp to make the ramp in the Guildhall corridor much more safe and compliant to DDA. Yeah, and that's about it in terms of internal works. Plans were circulated last year. I can't remember the date off the top of my head. Councillors did have input into the plans. They were all approved. And as I said, we agreed to go out to tender on the 15th of January of this year.
Can I bring Ros in on that, please?
Yep. So it's been through Alpant, it's been through VEM a couple of times, really. We had some site meetings with councillors where we looked at the different options and the different designs. So this is just the internal parts first, because we've divided it into two sections. There was some debates around the toilets, remember, about whether we went for unisex toilets. We've now gone to his and her toilets again with a separate disabled. So they've managed to reconfigure that because councillors, I know, weren't too sure about that. There's also going to be the new display case by the ramp internally, where we're hoping to have our Dr. Min's display, and that'll talk about the kind of the civic history of the Guildhall too. Yeah, and yeah, the servery will then take us up to the level that we can operate properly for the Guildhall tea room, because they'll have running water and a proper preparation area, which will go nice with the new staff.
Terry would like to come back.
Yeah, thank you. That's really useful, Ros. I must have missed that meeting when that was discussed previously, but I suppose the only question would be, have we gone back to the one company that applied to see if they are able to still do the work? Obviously, time's moved on and there's a lot has changed over the last few months. So just really a question about have we checked that they're able to do it? And are we confident that we promoted it well enough to get value for money and make sure that, you know, people were aware of that opportunity? You know, depending on the answer to those two questions, you know, you get your answer if you want to go ahead and accept it.
Yes, well, we went through the normal processes, and the architect also emailed out to their architect their contact list as well. So they went out to 5 companies as well as going through Contract Finder and things. And what was the second part of that, Terry?
Have we actually spoke to them recently to make sure it's still okay?
Yeah. And we have checked with them. They are a big company. We have used them in the past. They do a good job. So, and they haven't actually shut down through the whole of the period because they've been in construction. So, yeah.
Any more?
No.
Thank you, Ros. So, any more comments on that one?
Thank you so much.
No.
Yeah.
So it's got to be approved now, please.
Yeah. Can we approve that, please?
Would I have a sec?
Well, we need a recommend. Do we need a
I'll be the proposer.
proposer? That's it. Yeah, and a seconder, please.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Could you say your name when you second it, please?
Oh,
Miss that.
Councillor Crawford.
That was
Dennis,
our
okay,
Dennis,
thank
yeah.
you. And this is to accept and approve the tender. Is there an amount that I should put in and where it's coming from, please?
The amount was, oh God, I've just seen it. Was it, Roz, can you come back on that, please? I can't find it. I've lost it.
I think you can just put to approve the tender for the internal Guildhall work
Thank you. Yeah.
as presented. But what we'll do is we'll put the project nominal code in so that it's clear where the finances are coming from for it.
Thank you very much.
I would, sorry, if I could just jump in there, Chair. If you say as presented, I can't see where it is presented because it's not on the presentation in front of us. And I don't know how much the value is of this tender that we're approving. So I do quite like the suggestion that we record where it's coming from, but also how much it is. I think, I think Roz has just put it there. It's a big sum of money. And essentially, I'm being asked to vote without everything in front of me, so I should abstain on that sum of money. But I'm not overly unhappy. It's just I don't have it in front of me.
Or we could
Well, the
change it
report,
to as previously
circulated.
circulated.
But didn't we get the quote and that sent to us with these along with these minutes?
Yes, you did.
Yeah. So the
So-
quote should be along with the minutes, Terry.
So you could put as circulated.
Yeah.
Got that, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need a vote on that, folks?
You do.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I wonder if you could do me a favour. What we're going to do is we're going to do it in the column there. If you could just do what we did yesterday, which was A for approve. Sorry. What was it we did yesterday, Ross? What were your three things there? Well,
For, against,
against,
abstain.
and abstain. That's it. So it's for, against, and abstain. So if you could put an F next to your name, an A or an ABS, please.
Oh my word.
You can vote now on the meetings chat. Thank you.
Vote. I'm on meetings chat and I don't see any columns.
No, just type in
Just
your
type in.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sorry, that was a very loud slurp of my tea. I better put my microphone off.
Four. Oh, I need to put my name for it, don't I?
Yes, please.
No, your name will come up then. Go in your chat and it'll just say if you're for it or against it.
Right, I'm just sending it off. Yep.
Thank you, Dennis.
Yeah, got it down.
Thank you, Mark. Is there anybody else wishing to vote?
I don't know whether I voted or not.
Then I'll put you down as 4.
That's okay.
Yeah, you've done. Yeah.
So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for and 1 against. So that's carried.
So that's carried. That's brilliant. Thank you, Chris.
Can we are we able to find out who voted what way?
Yeah, by looking
See it
at
on
the
the
chat.
chat.
If you look in your chat, then you'll find it
I look in my what?
in the chat box where you've typed.
Right. Okay, thank you.
It'll all be on there. So it's
Oh, I've got Carla as well.
Carla has come in. Thank you, Carla. Right, we've got Chris and Mark. Are you? Chris voted for as well.
He was on there already, I think.
Yeah, he's quite quick on the trigger, isn't he?
Yeah.
Right.
The only vote that's not on there is yours, Jen, but you don't
But
need
it's carried
carried.
anyway. So yeah, you know, yeah, as long as it's open and fair. Right, I think that was it, wasn't it, on that one? Are we finished? Any other questions? So we'll move on to 898/19, review of reopening our weekly markets. Discuss options. government guidelines, the health and safety and the TT staff responsibilities. You should have had with the agenda, if I'm right, please correct me people if I'm wrong, Chris did send out information on what we'd had returned. David, do you want to start it, please?
Yeah, okay then. So just to cover the first point, in fact, a couple of the councillors have been quite keen to reopen the market, and I think it's Councillor Robinson who requested that this was part of the agenda for today. So just to give you some background before we discuss the fors and wherefores, shall I just say that the government guidelines dictate for open markets a list of essential traders that we can, if we wish, invite back to a market. And within our list of traders currently, we have fruit and veg, fishmonger, household goods, pet food, bread, cheese and eggs, and cakes and savoury foods. To try and determine the potential risks and their attitude to adhering to any restrictions that the government have imposed, we did send out a letter, and the councillors did receive a copy of my letter that I sent out to those 6 traders. We gave a deadline of last Thursday for them to submit their operational statement, which would address, and we gave them an idea of what we were looking for. So it would be things like additional staffing measures to cope with social distancing. Are they going to monitor that? Or how are they going to control the customer queuing systems? Any additional hygiene measures? Are they going to provide additional signage which will inform customers about things like method of payment, where to queue, direction of flow around their stall, and how to pay? And also the option, if they were to implement any other additional measures, to highlight that on their return. Of the 6 traders that we invited to submit the operational statement, only 3 did return it by deadline. And you have also been copied with those 3 traders' operational statements for you to look at before this meeting. But if we do review and reopen the market, then there are also additional responsibilities that I'd just like to draw your attention to, and they relate not just to the public and stallholders, which are obviously clearly important, but also staffing. So there are heightened risks to staff. Currently, we operate our market with a sessionally paid market supervisor who facilitates the setup, and that is safe arrival of traders, collection of tolls, ensuring that they adhere to the normal health and safety risks of equipment, etc. And then leave the market roughly about 8:30. The market is open to trading from 8 o'clock, satisfied that everything is ready for that particular market's trading. They then return to the market, usually around about 3 o'clock, as the market then looks to close down and supervises the standing down of stalls, movement of vehicles and safety of members of the public that might be onto the market square at that time. And then once everybody's clear, they will close the market and reopen it as a car park and look to secure bins, toilets, etc. Now, we have looked at other markets that have reopened, and because of the heightened risks and the extra health and safety measures, they have looked to maintain their staffing of those markets over the whole period of it being open. They have operated restricted times. The usual favoured time seems to be 8 a.m, which is our current opening time, and closure at 1 p.m. rather than 3 p.m. But a couple of markets that we looked at has around about 4 staff that are there continually through the day, ensuring that traders are upholding all the H&S measures that they've agreed to. So although we've only got 3 traders that have returned at this moment in time, we do need to go back to the others. They may be instilled with a little bit more confidence if our market is open. So it could be in the future that we increase those numbers. So I think it's something that we need to get clear and agreed from the outset. Yeah, so that's just a little bit of background. in
Can I bring
terms of what is expected. And really, it's now over to councillors to discuss and debate the wheres and wherefores.
Right, I've got Chris, Dennis first, and then Chris Harvey.
Right. I had a little bit of difficulty there in that the connection dropped out and I had to go through the process of getting back on. So I missed part of your presentation, Dave. But I'm generally in favour of the market going forward, as long as we can maybe ask the store holders to have some responsibility to keep social distancing and everything, and we just have an overall view of it.
Well, that's what we asked for, Dennis, from the stall holders by requesting their operational statement, as we've termed it. And as I said, 3 of them returned it, of which you've got copies of each of those. So you can determine yourselves whether you feel that they've adequately stepped up to the mark. And this is the benchmark that we would have to monitor them by. That's what they've agreed to do if we determine whether that's satisfactory to reopen the market. You've also got on the documentation that I sent round my views, and I've made my views clear on a number of occasions through email exchanges. So you're all well aware of my concerns and issues. Of the 3 traders, I've been quite impressed with, as I've termed them in your documentation, because we don't want to speak about individuals openly if we're critiquing their statements. But Trader 1 and Trader 2 that you have in your possession, I've been quite impressed with how they've stepped up to the mark. They've certainly agreed to implement all the safety issues that we've required, with a limitation on one of those in terms of only taking cash still. They haven't provided the card option as well, but they've made clear in signage that they will do that, and customers will make up their mind at the outset whether they'll continue with their purchase if they don't think that's safe to do so. Trader 3, I'm not particularly very impressed with the return of their information, and at this moment in time I would recommend that we don't invite them back. It gives us an opportunity to, if we do agree to reopen, to trial it, make sure everything works, and in the interim I can have conversations with that trader and explain to them the expectations that we require in this current circumstance, or they remain away from the market until normal conditions return.
Can I just, Chris Harvey's made a very valued point. Chris, do you want to say it?
You can read it out if you want. I'll listen for a minute.
All right then. Chris has said, has this staff member had a basic infection control course? So would that be the, if we put anybody continuously in the market? I don't know. Is that right, Chris?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I've done a basic infection control course online through Ellis and Whittam, and it's really quite hard. I mean, I want to see the markets open as much as anyone else. The policing worries me.
Yeah.
Is it going to be self-policed? Are we going to have our staff there to make sure that people do what they're told? Are we going to have the appropriate markings on the market? Who's going to put them down? Who's going to take them up? And the amount of infection control we have to put in when you compare it to like the garden centre and the supermarkets, it's got to be quite strict, hasn't it? I know it's out in the open air, which is not so bad because it's not, not an enclosed space. But as much as I'd like to see it open, we have to be 100% sure our staff, public, and the market traders are safe.
Yeah, totally agree. I've got Brenda's hands up.
Yeah, really, it's a personnel matter. By running the market on a similar line to what Chris just said, can we make staff attend that market? Because obviously people have options nowadays, don't they? And they might say they don't feel safe, they're not going to do it. We can't force it.
Mark Robertson.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Chris's volume's dropped.
Yeah.
Have we got anything else? Any other comments? Because it is quite a.
I would like.
Stuart Wright wants to come in.
I've got Stuart's hands just come up. Yes.
Yeah, I think we're moving into a bit more of an open area, and it will be opening up more. I understand the issues that we've got to be compliant with all the guidance that is out there. But given if we've got 3 stalls on a marketplace the size we have, it should be within our means to facilitate those to be open, and we need to put the onus on the stall holders to do the correct policing. I understand it's how do we police it, and we've got to be seen to be doing it, but we need to make sure if we do invite them back that they sign up to say that they will be doing those conditions of the self, basically it's the distance thing, isn't it? So they keep people 2 meters away, and they should be responsible for putting down a line, whether it be a tape on the day that they open, or if it's just a couple of battens laid on the floor to show where 2 meters is. I think we are going to be moving to a more and more open thing. So at some point we're going to have to bite the bullet about this. So let's try and get it in place now.
Yeah.
There's a big comment from Tina Cannell on there, please.
Yeah, there's a comment from Tina. Tony Clark, would you like to speak it, or would you like it read out?
I think, if the council want the markets open, and I don't think there's anybody who doesn't want the markets open. It's a case of, do you want it staffed or not staffed? Other councils, some councils like the Fakenham one, which is a big market, even though theirs is still reduced and food only, they have people setting it up, and then the town clerk and the other officers monitor it throughout the day on the CCTV, and then they assist with breakdown. So they only go out if they're needed. But then Swaffham have 4 people on their market all day. And that's a member of staff, councillors and volunteers. So I think it's just a case of which way the council would prefer that to happen. Because, we can make it happen, but I would say that potentially you wouldn't need 4 members of staff, but, yeah, I think I think the CCTV offers us a chance to kind of almost take the middle road, in that we can make sure the setup is correct, and we can make sure that the takedown is correct, along with the cleaning of, gazebos, tables, whatever. But the staff could safely monitor from the Carnegie.
I've got Brenda next. If I can bring Brenda in.
Well, I
And
never actually got an answer to my question. What if the market person at this present time refuses to do that job? Has he got the right to do this? Because I know my husband's been asked, would you like to return? He doesn't have to. They're asking him, does he feel safe enough? Here's the risk assessment. Do you feel safe enough? They're not asking. They said, we'll leave you on furlough, and we're forgetting we're dealing with staff members here, and we've got to ask them that question. As Dave asked that question, that's all I'm asking.
Right, can you answer that, please? And then I've got Chris Harvey, which has said he would be prepared to volunteer to help monitor. Then I've got Stuart with his hands up and Mark with his hands up. So if you want to reply to Brenda first, and then we'll go on.
Well, the ACAS is that obviously people have a right to ask and ensure that their employees have provided a safe and welcoming environment to them. So if they had any reason to believe that we had not put all the correct safety measures into place, and that we weren't actually looking after their welfare, then they would be able to ask people to represent on their behalf not to come back to work. However, I would hope that we are going to be thorough in our, our safety measures, and that none of the staff will feel that way. But if they do, we will address those issues directly with the members of staff and find a way that they can feel safe and comfortable.
Right, then I've got Stuart and then I've got Mark.
Thank you, Jen. Yeah, following on from Tina's response, I think the CCTV is key to this, but it's really, Tina needs to make sure that her staff are able to do this. If they aren't able to do it, then quite clearly we can't operate. But if she's comfortable that we've got staff that are willing to work, and as Brenda said, to carry out that supervision, then I think we've got a way forward.
Thank you. I've got Mark.
Thank you. When I originally asked for this item to be put on the agenda, it was never the intention for the market to open up as it was before the pandemic kicked in. I'll just wait, sorry, I've got a train going past. So, I think this is manageable. Health and well-being of everyone involved is paramount. I feel ideally placed running my daytime job, running the cleaning business. I'm quite happy to give my time up every Saturday morning to facilitate the opening up of the market, seeing I'm dealing with sanitisation and cleaning processes and risk assessments on a daily basis related to COVID-19. So I'm very, very keen to get involved on that front. But I think with reconfiguring the market, I don't hear anything that's an obstacle, just an hurdle to get over. And I think there's an important health and well-being aspect for our community. I'd rather have them out in the open air getting fresh fruit and veg than into a supermarket. So I'm hoping this is something we can facilitate as soon as possible.
Right, thank you, Mark. I've got a comment from Ros. Ros, did you want to say it? And then I've got Terry with his hand up. So if Ros can...
Stuart, was Stuart up there? Chair.
Stuart has come up before Mark. Yes, Stuart spoke, yes. Did I get you, Stuart?
He came up afterwards again.
Oh, is he? For some reason, I haven't got that. I've got Stuart, then Mark, which is done. Ros has made a comment. Terry's hand is up. So I beg your pardon, Stuart, if you have, it's not actually come up on mine for some reason.
I think I covered my point, but I do reiterate Mark's point. It's better to have people out in the open air than they are queuing in supermarket aisles, but I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Right, Ros has put on the government are producing a guidance on the management of town centres. Keeping a 2 metre distance is not how we naturally behave, which we all know that. Physical barriers and signage are important. I totally agree with that. I should imagine we all do with the way things are. I've got Terry next with his hand up, and then I've got Carla with her hand up. So Terry, would you like to go?
Sure, lovely, thank you. Just a couple of points. Completely agree with the point about supermarkets. I've been making a conscious effort not to go to the supermarket on a regular basis, but frankly, you have to. There's lots of people who, myself included, don't want to take up the delivery slots, the click and collect slots that are available. So you have to go into the supermarket. And it's about giving people choice. So that's one point. I think the market reopening gives greater choice. But also, I think we have a responsibility to those traders. Lots of them have been very loyal to this town for a long while. And if it's safely possible to do so, we should be reopening the market to support them. So going back to David's earlier point, the two that he feels have done everything, prep-wise to make it possible to reopen. Let's get them down and get them open as soon as we possibly can. I don't want us to be waiting for the CCTV. I think it's an added advantage, but they've demonstrated that they can, conform to the new way of workings. Let's get that going as soon as we possibly can, and then perhaps advise some of the others that might need additional sort of support to reopen. But I think there's a will to do it, and certainly there's other places reopening now. I'm all for let's get on there and do it. And David's already confirmed that he's happy with at least two of them.
Yeah. Can I take Carla and then any other responses, please? Carla, thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. I think some of the comments made, yeah, I have repeated some of the words of Stuart and Terry. I think it's important to bring business people, the traders, which are small businesses, back into line as soon as possible, rather than getting them to struggle longer. I mean, this has already been going on for a long time. So a lot of businesses struggling. The longer it's going to go, the worse it gets. The other point is, as people now have more flexibility to go out to do exercise as many times as they want a day, they can incorporate that. Just they're walking about and pass by the market and pick up the supplies they need, which I agree with Terry and Stuart on that. He avoids packing people in supermarkets as in the open air, as long as it's done safely and the stall traders are following the guidelines. I think it's doable. There's no reason why we should keep them closed any longer, and try to bring things to normal as soon as possible. That's my opinion, anyways. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I've been looking at your comments on here. The government are saying it's got it should only be for food. So we've got the fish van. That doesn't look too bad. Our veg man has done quite well with his, actually. I know you've still got a couple of concerns. Now, are they, being as one of our traders just needs a little bit more, maybe a bit of help, and we are asking the traders to take responsibility of their own areas, etc. Would it be yeah, I apologise. I haven't named anybody, but I do apologise for mentioning one. I should have said trader. Maybe we could, with the area they've got, if we've only got the two acceptable ones at the moment, they could have a larger area for their distancing. I don't know. I do apologise. I didn't name, but I have. I did comment on what stalls they were. I do apologise.
Well, if I could just come back and uncover some of the earlier points and hopefully get to a conclusion. To answer Councillor Harvey's earlier question, has the market supervisor been through an infection control course? Can I just say at the outset of this, Ros was very good at trying to galvanise staff to go through all the health and safety courses, and everybody that's employed has finished with that or completed the infection control course, with the exception of the market supervisor, because as I alluded to earlier, she is a sessionally employed person and the markets were closed. But it's clearly not an insurmountable problem. We can get that person in, and it's an online course deliverable through our health and safety providers. So we can that's not something that's going to exclude us reopening the market. What I'd like to get clear though is I take some of the councillors' points that, you know, and to be perfectly honest, some seem a little bit flippant in terms of, I think it's only a social distancing problem. It's not. There's clearly some issues, as Councillor Harvey's alluded to. Have you done your infection control course? Yes, we have. There are also additional services that we provide. We give the opportunity for traders to go for a comfort break in the Guildhall toilets. The Guildhall is currently mothballed. If we are going to open the toilets to the traders only, that again has to be monitored and cleaned after every visit. We also provide a waste disposal service, and currently the two traders that we are looking to invite back are the only two traders in actual fact that use the waste disposal. So again, that needs to be cleaned. So finally, yes, it is the responsibility of the traders to take responsibility for their business. And as I said, I'm quite happy with the returns from those two traders. But our liability through supervision of the market has two elements, the beginning and the end. Where is the liability? Where is the monitoring in the middle bit? Now, Tina mentioned we are initially only looking to bring 2 traders back. That could change quite quickly. We can reconfigure the layouts, and I'm sure those traders will come back and locate in any position that we dictate. So that won't be a problem. So we can look at the health and safety around that. But we will need two staff members for the entirety of the market being open. And if we agree that we open from 8 till 1, that means we have to be staffed by 6:30 to 7 in the morning, and at least through till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So 2 people at least 6.5 hours each. That's something that we don't deliver at the moment.
Thank you. Can I just ask, if obviously the council would have to put the barriers up like we normally do to shut the market off. If the traders actually do all their own setting up, setting out, so they I bring their own tables, gazebos, whatever they need, if they've got their own, that would save something for the staff, because if you use the tables and the gazebos, they're going to have to be obviously deep cleaned, etc. So really, if they could use their own staff, that would cut that bit out, wouldn't it?
Well, again, just to give you some information around that, those 2 traders that we are looking to initially invite back, they don't use our equipment. Right. Trader 3 that we discussed earlier, that will have to come back at a later date after additional conversations and advice. Yeah. They do use our equipment. And there are 3 other traders that technically could come back, and they're on that essential traders list. And that will be extended going forward. I mean, you know, garden centres are now open, so that, you know, the relaxation of the guidelines will come. And there are a lot more traders that use our equipment. So that's something we might have to consider in the future. So we clean for their use and we clean down after use. So there's additional responsibilities to staff and liabilities to their health and safety. So unfortunately, it's not just a case of telling traders that they can come back and closing the market entrance and exit. There's a lot more to it than that. But I think we are covering most of the points.
Yeah, I noticed Ros has put the government guidelines on safer spaces on the thing, which people can log into and have a look. I've got Brenda's hand up.
If I can just butt in, Tina's put a note on there, please.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Tina has put in, could we agree that the first 2 to open now, and able to review at the end of the first market and continually evaluate how it went and how we bring back our traders safely. Eventually, we may need another market space for our traders in.
Can I come in there then?
I've got Brenda next, and I've got Mark.
Right. Dave alluded to the toilet. Well, as you know, if you're uptown and the market's on, you sort of, and you're dying to go, you nip into the Guildhall. So, what are we actually planning for them toilets? Because obviously, Norfolk County Council said no to the bus station, and then we go and open up that one. They're going to say, you know, looking at what public, why ain't Cage Lane open? Because that one's open, and if we don't open them, where do traders actually go? I'm not being funny, but that's a long time to stand on the market square without going. we sort of like skip the toilets.
Well, this is an issue because in normal circumstances, you would have other facilities in and around the market space. We've got 2 pubs that would be open for a majority of the day. We do open the Guildhall for the traders, but that's an additional health and safety responsibility. And we'd have to have the entrance monitored because, you know, we don't have public toilets open at the moment. So it's not just traders that come up the town and need to spend a penny. If the door is open, clearly it will be used by the public. And then we've got a major clean down in a venue that is currently sort of mothballed, as I said earlier. But clearly, we have to factor in the point that, you know, if you're there for 5 or 6 hours, you are going to go and visit the toilet at some point. It's not something we can just not address.
Right, thank you. I've got Mark with his hand up, please.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with Tina. I would like to move to a position where we can look to get at least 2 of the market traders up and running at the earliest possible moment. And we are going around discussing the various issues that need to be addressed. There's been a request for councillors and volunteers to get involved, and at least 2 of us have jumped at that opportunity to support. So I'm going to suggest a way forward, because we're discussing and we're going into the minutiae of the issues.
It could be.
We now need probably yourself, Chair, myself as the Vice Chair, and the VEM officer to work over the next week and a half to actually finalise the plan, come back to the committee and say this is what it's going to look like, and we can either green light this or red light this on that plan.
I'm quite happy with that. Chris has just come up with a point on health and safety. The toilet problem is a huge stumbling block, and I quite agree that is going to be the problem, is the toilets. I'm not sure, but I don't know if it was Fakenham that have opened. I can't remember. If I was told earlier that if one of the markets is open, but it's not opening their toilets. But I'm not sure. Somebody can correct me on that one, please.
It was one of them markets, Chair.
Yeah, I thought it was. They've got the traders there, but they're not opening the toilets for them. So yeah, toilets will be a problem. Yeah, I've got no problem with that. Mark, joining up with the chair and that of help.
No, I say.
No, you don't need me, do you?
I just think we need to move this on, because we're discussing. We're focusing on.
Yeah. Well,
we need
would you like
at some point arrive at a decision so we move it forward?
Yeah. So, Chris, do we need to recommend that?
No, I don't think so. Thank you. I've got that yourself, Mark, and David will get a plan for getting the 2 traders up and running, and finalise that plan as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Any other comments? Chris has come back. Could he be involved, please? I don't see why not, Chris, being as you're our sort of health and safety man as well. So, Mark, have you got any problems with Chris coming in on that one?
Only because it's Chris.
Yeah, I did think, but I'm trying to be polite today.
No, apologies, Chris. Love you really, but just one thing. Can we set a timeline to this, that we have this back to committee by the first Friday in June? So that's 2 Fridays time.
Yeah, we get
so
that.
Was that a no for Chris?
No, Chris wants to be involved.
No.
Yes, did Mark say no?
No issue with Chris at all.
No problem, Chris.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. So can I just come back, Chair?
Yeah.
I'm obviously, because we sent out these letters to the traders, I'm obviously being inundated with email and messages. They know that we're having this meeting today.
Yeah.
I am going to have to go back to them and tell them that it's not likely to be reopened for at least a couple of weeks. Are you happy with that?
Well, are the committee happy with that?
Chair?
Yep.
I only said 2 weeks. If we can do it sooner, I'm quite happy that we work on it sooner. We've got a bank holiday and we got a annual meeting next Friday.
I'd be more happy that sooner than later, to be honest. Yes.
Myself also.
What about before the annual meeting, though? Do we do it then?
Yeah, it's just a matter of organising diaries, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll set that up then for ASAP. We'll see if we get at least the 2 traders on once we've sorted out the toilets, etc. Yes. So I'm available anytime. So it's dates for Mark and Mark and David. So if you can combine dates, I'm free anytime. Not part of him.
Yeah.
Right. So we've got, and that's it. Then we'll get that up and running, so we can get the market started again, which will be brilliant. Right. Anything else on that one? We all recognise it's a quick one. So shall we move on to VEM priorities 899?
So, Chair, the reason I asked for this agenda item simply is because in January of this year, the committee, as all committees, were looking at their future priorities for 2020-21, and these were the two that VEM agreed. And at that time, things were going reasonably swimmingly. We hadn't even heard of coronavirus, and suddenly at the back end, the last few weeks of our year, this has struck. Our venues have been closed, as I said earlier, since the 20th of March. Our budget will be severely impacted for at least the first quarter, if not longer. So the first point in there, we really need to review, and I say that not from a negative point of view, but a positive point of view. I think we need to possibly, Chair, stand up a virtual working group that may look at how we can try and develop these priorities to a satisfactory conclusion. I think most businesses in this current climate are looking at very creative and innovative ways that they can develop their business. And I think whereas we were possibly looking at more traditional revenue streams, currently we can't facilitate those. So I would like help and support from like-minded councillors on VEM that may want to join the working group and try and develop this in a more creative way, that we can at least look at trying to protect our budget going forward.
Yeah. Is there anybody that would like to go on that working group?
I would. Brenda Cannon.
Brenda, Mark, can I ask you if you'd like to go on that on the business side of things?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to get involved.
I don't want you twiddling your fingers. You know, you age when you don't do anything. Take my word for it. So we've got Brenda, Mark. Anybody else that would like to go on that virtual thing? I've got Terry with his hand up.
Thank you, Terry.
Yeah, just putting my name forward.
Terry as well. Brilliant. Anybody else?
Carla, thank you.
Carla, I've got Carla. Lovely. Anybody else then? Chris?
No, I'm fine.
You're fine, you not, Chris? No.
No, not for me. My entrepreneurial skills are doubtful.
Bless you. Yeah. Right then.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I'll make sure I contact those relevant councillors and hopefully we can schedule a meeting soon.
Yeah.
Did Dennis say yes? I am sorry. Did Dennis say yes?
No, Dennis. Dennis is bless
I
him.
completely decline.
Yeah. So we've got Brenda, Mark, Terry, and Carla.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Unless anybody else would like to join, and then just let Chris know. Okay. So that would be the priorities. Do you want to carry on, David? No.
Basically, it's moving to the next agenda item, 919 VEM budget.
Yeah.
I'm not getting the agenda moving on my screen. I'm still on health and safety.
Oh.
Dennis, I'll tell you what it is. You might attach something at the bottom that says take control, and then it says presenter. Take presenter off, because I was doing that. That's why my screen didn't move when Dave was moving it.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you very much, Brenda.
Is there any comments on this then?
So councillors were circulated with the more fuller version of the 5-year budget, but the slides just actually focus on last year. So we've now got end of year figures. So the slide currently is showing the income to the end of March 2019/20. So I'm quite happy to take questions, or I can move through both income and expenditure if that's what you want.
I've got Terry with his hand up.
Yeah, lovely, thank you. I think you just might have answered part of my question there, David, which was specifically for the events income. Presumably all of that income is for events that happened in that financial year, not income that potentially was in the future, as in this financial year. That was the first point. And then the box office income, presumably that's income for our own events, or is that separate to the events, and that's the box office income for where we've done the box office for other people?
Yes, for answer to your first question, it is only for last year in terms of event income. In respect of box office income, we do not sell tickets for any third party unless they specifically ask us to do so, and we have done that on a couple of occasions. Primarily, that's the income from our ticket events. This year, we tried to generate additional income streams through delivering our own events under the banner of Live at the Carnegie. So we did a few events to trial that, which were reasonably successful, and that's just the box office income on those ticket sales.
Any other questions? No?
No, that's fine, thank you.
Okay, I'm not going to ask if we're happy with it. The circumstances. Right, should we move on to 90119? Ah, you've got some expenditure there, Davey.
Well, yeah, I asked for questions on both. You had the fuller box office budget figures.
Yeah. Right, and there was no more questions. Thank you. We will go.
Sorry, Chair, I just have.
Got Terry.
I thought we were going to move on to expenditure, so I separated it into income and expenditure. I was just curious, David, that with the catering purchases, what actually materialised was double what was budgeted. And then you'd expect to see a sort of correlation with an increase in income, but it only went from 10 to 12 grand in income, but actually the expenditure doubled. So just that was a bit of a red flag that there wasn't a sort of correlation there. And then similarly with the bar purchases, it's 15 grand expenditure. In reality, it's 21 grand, but not the same sort of uplift in the income. So I just wanted to see if you were sort of aware of those facts. And then separately on expenditure, you've got a new budget line, for marketing and communications. We've not spent anything for the last few years in that budget line. And then there's a huge £7,000. Just wondering what your proposals are for that money this financial year.
So just going back to bar purchases, let me just turn the slide back to the income. The uplift in actual to budget is £9,621. The differential in bar purchases is relative to that, and so we are still generating a healthy net profit on that figure. Catering purchases, and I think we've discussed this before, that we do need to separate out catering purchases from our own conference and our event and that of the Guildhall Tea Room. That may factor out much easily going forward, because we are looking to take the Guildhall Tea Room under our own wing. But for an expenditure exercise, we will separate those out so we can clearly define those purchase costs. But that's where the extra costs were. In terms of marketing, when you quote the 7,000 additional, are you looking at next year's budget, the wider budget?
Yes, so on the one that was circulated, the full income and expenditure in the 5-year forecast, for the next 3 years, there's 7k a year for marketing and communications.
So when we looked in October, November time of last year, in terms of setting budgets going forward, we expressed an interest, even though we were looking at different options, the way we market and advertise our events and our venues and the town council in the wider context. Councillors felt at that time that we were not maximising every opportunity, and our marketing plan going forward will be widened, increased, and therefore it increases the costs to that. So they agreed an additional expense to go into the budget going forward, and that's where the extra expense is.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm quite happy with that. I was more interested in what your sort of plans are to make use of that. Just going back to our previous conversation about the market, you know, I've always been really passionate about us doing more as a council to promote the market traders and encourage people to shop at the market, encourage people to go into the town centre and sort of, you know, support local retailers. Given COVID-19 and everything that's going on, I'm just, you know, if you haven't got plans for how to spend that £7 grand, I'd be keen for us to think about actually encouraging people to shop local and that sort of thing, just sort of throwing it out there.
And that's a great idea, Terry. And actually, one of the things that have come out and in the operational plans for both those traders we're inviting back is that they have diversified into pre-orders, pre-order and collection. So that is certainly something, and you're right, that we could advertise and facilitate on our website. We are looking at trying to improve the website again. Again, some of the initial budget for next year would be to make those initial changes to website, social media, etc. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any more comments?
Roger's put a comment on there that David was some of this spend for the awards for all money.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to add as well that the Guildhall bid, that the Heritage Lottery bid was all about pushing the marketplace with our heritage events on the market. So we still will be doing that, but doing it based on what we can do with coronavirus.
Right, any more comments? Right, then we go on to community officers update. I think we've had that.
No, I have nothing to add on that agenda item.
No.
Very well.
Okay, what about community engagement? Should we let them know that we've now got the market's situation on the market, on getting the market back up and running?
We have another VEM meeting scheduled for June the 11th, I think, so it's only a few weeks away. Yeah. Clearly, I think it's slightly too early to make any media disclosure of us reopening the market, because clearly the big thing that they'll want to know is date. So what I will do is I will make sure that those councillors who are needed to come together to try and determine the last little cogs in the wheel to open the market, and we can agree a date. And if we can get it open fairly quickly, then yes, let's get that PR out.
Okay, I've got Mark with his hand up.
Thank you. I just want to make a comment on that. Normally, I would say, yeah, making a comment or a statement would be premature. But this meeting's being streamed live.
Yeah.
And I know it's being as watched as far afield as Tilbury.
Oh, nice.
So I've had somebody contact me that they're watching it from Tilbury, a Thetford resident that works in that area. So it's already out there.
Yeah,
we're going to be looking at this. So maybe a precursory statement about the next steps for us would be prudent.
Yeah, I've got Terry with his hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to echo what Mark said. I think the one thing we've all agreed on is we want the market to reopen as soon as we possibly can. So that on its own, whether it's from you, Chair, or from the Mayor or whoever, I don't really mind. But a statement that we are committed to supporting, you know, our market traders, you know, as soon as possible, I think is, you know, a good message to be sending out.
All I would say on that is it should come as from actually the council. The council will, regardless if you're on the chair, the mayor or anybody, we all want the market to be open. So it should be a comment from the whole council, really, shouldn't it? Not just individuals.
Yeah, the council, as in everybody.
Yeah, the council, Thetford Town Council, yeah.
Council are working towards it,
Yeah, because we've all got an interest that we are up and running and that, so yeah. Right, is there any other comments on that? Terry, I've got your hands up.
Sorry, yeah, me again. Just one final thing. I think it's kind of under community engagement. Just wondered, David, if you could give us an update about the space outside the Carnegie. I've been contacted by a couple of people about the amount of weeds and just sort of the general appearance of the outside. Seeing as we're actually in the meeting and people are watching, if you could give an update on, you know, whether that's going to be tidied up sometime soon, that'd be great.
Well, the outside space is, again, one of those anomalies in terms of exterior is ALP, interior is VEM. But I can say that we are all concerned about the weed growth in and around the Carnegie, and it doesn't look good. We are still open for business for blood donors, for instance, and they're back doing sessions for every fortnight at the moment. So we do have people come to the Carnegie, and we want to present it in a good light. But what I can say is the contractor that has been employed to do that is working on that now. He's back, and that will hopefully be improved over the next week.
Thank you.